Hey, everybody, this is Casey hanging out in Punta Cana. That's right, I am not in the studios today. I am on the Penn's Peak Radio Punta Cana trip, enjoying the sunshine. However, what I needed to do was make sure that I have a special guest on the Wall to Wall Country Show, which I do each and every week. I appreciate Ike filling in for me today, but I'm calling in from Punta Cana, and my guest is calling in, and we're going to make this happen live on the air today. So we're so excited to be doing that. And we're also very excited about the artist that I have today. Now, this guy, as you well know, I've had classic artists and I've had new artists, and some the newer kind of pop type country and some of the great classics. This guy kind of fits both shoes, and I'm so excited to know more about this guy and listen to some of his music, and I think you're going to enjoy him too. Please make welcome to the show, Mr. Jake Penrod. Hey, Jake, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. Thanks. How are you?
I am awesome. But hey, listen, I mentioned about how you kind of wear one shoe in one area and one shoe in the other area, and I really want to define that and play some of your music to get people kind of a better feel about who you are and where you come from, and the whole idea of a traditionalist when it comes to country music. But let's first go back a bit and explain where that comes from. What's your background, and how did you decide that this was the steering mechanism for your style of music that you wanted to perform for people?
Well, I grew up on, George Strait, Keith Whitley, Garth Brooks, that stuff in the early 90s, late 80s. And when I was about 9 years old, I hear this ad on TV for a Hank Williams record collection. And I'd never heard of him before. I'd heard of Junior. This was the first I'd heard of Hank Williams, and I think I was, like I said, 8 or 9. And it just made this big impression on me, and for some reason, that was all I wanted to hear from then on was the older classic stuff. And as I got a little older, I was into, Johnny Cash, Lefty Frizzell, Ernest Tubb, and all the classic artists that really built and created the foundation that country was later built on. And it just kind of stuck with me from that point. I never really was interested in the newer stuff. And once in a while, there'd be a pretty good record, like a new release, that I thought was pretty cool. But for the most part, I was just into the classic stuff, and that kind of defined my own music as well.
Now, your musicality, when you're writing your music, you're also throwing back to those eras as well. The music that you're performing has maybe a little bit more of that honky-tonk feel, the traditional country music. As a matter of fact, I read a little line that said you earned the title of King of the Texas Twang.
Yeah, there was a DJ down here in Texas called me that, and I didn't think I was really worthy of the title King of anything, but that's pretty cool. I guess I'm proud of it.
Yeah, but I mean, it says something about the style and the way that you perform. Now, let me just double check about this, too. We're going to be talking about an album. You're also the writer. You're the person who's writing a lot of the music that you're performing and putting out there on your CDs as well.
Right. All of the stuff that I've recorded so far, I've written each song. Our live shows, I typically do half cover, half original. But all the original tunes that I play and that I record, I've written myself.
Okay. Now, are you when you're writing, are you writing by yourself? Are you having the opportunity to collaborate with some of maybe your icons or your favorites?
No, actually, I do it mostly by myself. I've, on a few occasions, tried to collaborate, with another writer, and I've never really been able to get anywhere. I worked on a song for a friend of mine about 10 years ago, and it came out all right, but it wasn't something I really wanted to put my name on and say, this is a original composition, because it just, to me, it didn't have the feel as though didn't have the same feel as a song that, say, one writer could have put into his own work, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Is there the possibility of writing with someone? I mean, if I said, if you could write with someone, no matter if they're dead or alive, is there someone that you think would be a good fit that you would have if you had the opportunity, or would, either with a present artist or an artist of the past?
Oh yeah, I'd certainly welcome the opportunity. In fact, I have a few friends that are involved in what we call kind of the traditional scene, and we've talked about getting together and writing. It never seems to happen because we're always busy with our own schedules. But a friend that comes to mind, Jason James, great singer, great writer, great entertainer, and we visited a couple months ago about getting together and writing some. And at some point, we're going to make that happen, but it hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
I can't think who I would like to write with as far as past artists. Definitely think it would be cool to collaborate with Hank Williams or Lefty Frizzell, especially since my own style kind of reflects nuances of both of those artists.
Well, that sounds amazing. If the day would come that you'd be able to, have the opportunity to write with people of that kind of caliber. But it sounds like you're actually doing pretty good for yourself. I mean, you've already walked away with some amazing awards. Got a couple of notches in your belt here. We're talking about the 2017 Honky Tonk Male Artist of the Year.
That was cool. Yeah.
Now, yeah, well, how were you expecting that? Was that kind of like a total surprise?
It was, and it wasn't, and it was. It was like, yeah, I was in the running for it for 3 years, and I was thinking, in the guys that I'm in a class with, it's tough to pick one. I mean, I had my vote on a particular other artist who I thought was going to get the award, and but we did a few little promotional like TV spots and things in the weeks leading up to the awards, and I started thinking, well, if I'm involved in this, I might have a pretty good shot at the award itself. But I really had no idea until they called my name that night.
That's awesome. I mean, that had to be kind of like a pinch me moment too, because those kinds of things also validate that what you're doing is what you're supposed to be doing. You're not fake. You're doing it from the heart. What you're putting out there is part of you and your soul, and people apparently are digging it.
Oh yeah, man! One of my heroes is James Hand, and he was actually one of the award presenters. And to have that guy call my name and hand me the trophy, that was surreal.
That's awesome. You also walked away back in last year for the Academy of Western Artists Will Rogers Award for Pure Country Male Vocalist for the year 2015. That also had to be pretty darn special.
That was great. And it's the Academy of Western Artists, they've been around a little bit longer, quite a bit longer. I think this past year was their 20th. And so they're pretty well established, and I've seen a lot of my heroes and mentors walk away with awards. And to have one of my own is really pretty cool.
I just think that's neat when, artists get recognized for their talents, and especially in such interesting categories and some really cool awards. I mean, to be able to walk around with, the Will Rogers Award. I mean, how many people can say that?
Yeah, and it's a heavy thing to walk around with, believe me. It weighs about 10 pounds.
Well, I'm sure you carry it well. Speaking of carrying yourself, one of the things that actually kind of brought my attention when I did come across your name and your style and all that is I watched some of your performances on YouTube, and it impressed me because you see a lot of new artists, and I'm not beating anybody up here, good, bad, or indifferent, the jeans, the T-shirt, the wearing the hat backwards, the baseball hat backwards, and that's their style, and that's what people love, and that's, and that's okay. But I think one of the things that really kind of caught my attention was the fact that you did remind me of people of days gone by, like the Ernest Tubbs and the little Jimmy Dickens, where people dressed up for the occasion to perform and had a signature style. I mean, you're talking the Roy Rogers and the Glenn Campbells and all those guys. They didn't just walk out on stage with a ripped pair of jeans. Was that completely and totally intentional for your style?
Oh, it's I live on a what would we call it, a ranch? It's more or less a stock farm, but I spend the summer, I'll haul hay and spend time on a tractor in the heat, and I dress a certain way to do that, and I'm not going to dress like I do on, riding a tractor around the field. I'm not going to dress that way on stage. I think that when people are paying money to see an artist, that's an occasion to dress up. And people have different philosophies, of course. I know a lot of entertainers they wear what they're comfortable in. But I've always been as comfortable in a three-piece suit as I have been in a T-shirt and a pair of jeans. So it's, to each their own, but I like to dress up, and it's kind of really part of who I am. I'm really not putting on anything as far as, trying to appear as something I'm not. That's just kind of, I've always enjoyed looking nice, suiting up, and I just kind of think if people are paying money to come see a show, you ought to look nice for them.
Right. Well, I agree, and I think that's neat because if you do watch like the Grand Ole Opry and a lot of those videos of the gentlemen and the ladies, I mean, they probably spent way more money on their outfit than they spent on just about anything else. All the sequins and the sparkles and the fancy hats and the beautiful coats and dresses. And it's a tribute to that era and that lifestyle and that form of music. And, I would say that, you're providing the complete package, and I think that's very important that, you're not just, just the music, but, you're producing that package and people get to see, kind of like close their eyes and go back in time a little bit and remember a lot of that great quality of music from the days gone by.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of things happened back then that, to me, mattered, and I think that it should be carried on.
Right. And dressing for the occasion is one of them. People would dress to go out, and people would dress to perform. It was an evening out, and that's awesome. Now, you actually have a band. You call your band the $1 Million Cowboys. Do they dress up as well? Are they part of the appearance?
Oh, yeah. They, in fact, part of the name, $1 Million Cowboys, has a couple different meanings. Everybody that gets into the entertainment business, their goal is, at some point, I'm going to make $1 million. But on the other end, and I kind of took my cue from Ernest Tubb and Hank Williams and those guys back then, whose bands always looked like $1 million,
right?
Because they dressed so nice, and so that's kind of I guess, the double meaning of the name. And Cowboys, because I'm from Texas and everybody thinks we're all cowboys down here. But no, I actually grew up in a pair of boots and a cowboy hat, so I'm not a faker, though. I'm the real thing, I guess. Or I was raised by the real thing. I can't remember the last time I was on a horse, but anyway. My guys, though, they'll, I guess a casual performance would be black pants and a white starched shirt, so that's about as dressed down as we get.
That's awesome.
They'll suit up with a tie and all of that stuff for me if I really want them to. In this heat, though, I hate to ask them to dress up too nice, but they're kind of like me. They like to get spiffy.
That's awesome, and that's just part of showmanship as well, as far as I'm concerned. I think that's totally cool that you guys do that. So
it keeps the eyes on you too. We get a lot of comments about the way we dress, and it's kind of it's an attention getter. Something else to kind of set us apart.
Well, and it's another one of those senses things too. You're doing the senses of the hearing and maybe the smell of a dance hall and whatever, but the sense of the visual sense of a performance. I think that's just as important, and having them to have something to look at up on stage instead of some just guy in a ripped jeans who sings well. And I'm not beating anybody up, but.
Yeah, anything to detract from the smell of the dance hall, believe me.
All right. Well, let's move on to your music. Now that we know a little bit about you and your band, you have this 5-song CD out. Is this also on the electronics platforms out there, Jake?
Yeah, it's on iTunes and Spotify, Amazon. I think it's on Pandora. Pretty much, if you've got a smartphone, you can listen to me anywhere.
All right. And this is a little something called Jake Penrod, Out of Control is the title. And that's actually one of the songs that are on the album too, which we're gonna play a little bit later on. But Tell us about that. The title of the song and why you picked Out of Control. You guys don't seem like you're out of control. You're actually pretty well put together and everything.
Oh yeah, I thought it was I always try to name an album after a track that's on the album.
Okay.
So the first album we did was Closer to Me, which is also one of the songs. But Out of Control, I thought was kind of that's kind of an attention getter. It makes you think, there's got to be a story, something to make somebody pick up the CD and actually buy it. But the song itself is sort of it's a user's guide to ruining your life, I guess. If you listen to the song, it's everything to do if you want to do everything the wrong way. Sort of explanation of how to set your life spinning out of control.
Wow. Well, we're going to feature that song at the very end of the show today to remind people how good you really are, and that if they did miss the interview, this entire show gets played back on Sunday. And that will be something that they can look forward to. But I'll play Out of Control, and now that they understand the meaning behind it, they'll give it a listen at the end of the show and hopefully reach out and actually put their couple dollars to one of those electronic medias and buy this little CD, 5-song CD. But let's talk about one of the other songs that I'd like to feature here in just a few minutes. We talked about Baby Steps that are also on here. It's the first track of this CD called Out of Control. And I'd like to play that, but before we get to that, I'd like to have everybody hear a little bit about Baby Steps. Is that the opposite of Out of Control?
No, it's sort of its own standalone song. I actually wrote it after an ice storm, and I was walking down steps and almost slipped and fell, and I grabbed the stair rail and I thought to myself, all right, baby steps, don't fall. And the phrase baby steps was stuck in my head, so I found a piece of paper and just jotted down as fast as I could the fragments of a song that I put together a little later. And it's a cool little song about leaving.
Okay. All right. Well, we're going to take a little break. Can you hold on there for a little bit, Jake? And we're going to play this song,
Sure.
Baby Steps.
All right.
All right. Hold on a second. We're going to be back with more Jake Penrod in just a minute off of his Out of Control, his new CD that was just released last year. His title track on here, Baby Steps, in just a minute right here on PPR. And there you guys go, a little tune called Baby Steps. And it was a good little tune there, Jake. I really like it, and I think people are going to like it too. And good work on that. Good stuff there.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Now, were you, before I cut you loose, because I know you're busy and I got to get back to the pool, we talked about a couple of the other tunes. Now, one of the songs that we talked about that I want to remind people we're going to play at the end of the show is a little something called Out of Control. And that song is the title track of this. And you gave a little explanation of that song, Out of Control. And I think people are going to enjoy that. Is that song doing okay for you?
Yeah, actually, somebody... a promoter friend of mine sent me a copy of a German country music chart, and Out of Control was number 13 on the charts, I believe, last month.
Wow.
In Germany.
That's awesome. Wow, so you're getting out there quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm actually touring Europe. Well, I'll say touring Europe. I'm making kind of a one-night stand in France, and then I'm headed to Italy for a festival over there.
Oh, that's touring.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So people can find you out and about as well. Now, how else can people find you? You have a website. Are you on the social medias, Jake?
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and JakePenrod.com.
Awesome. It's pretty simple. So you guys want to check this out and find his album Out of Control, which we'll play at the end of the show. You guys have already heard Baby Steps, and I think we have time for one more little tune. And we talked about I'm Not There, which is the 5th song on this CD. Jake, you want to give us a little background of that tune?
It's probably the saddest thing I've ever written. Everybody I play it for says that it's so sad, it's terrible, but I love it. It's a sad song. That's really all I can say about it.
All right. Okay. So we've got that one coming up in just a minute after we say our goodbyes to Jake. Hey, Jake, is there anything else you want to mention, throw out there to the listening audience? I know you want them to check out your website at jakepenrod.com. find you on all the social medias, out performing? Is the website full of the information about how to get their hands on your music and how to find you?
Yeah, there's links on the website to you can order hard copies of the music or digital. There's also contact info if you would like Jake Penrod and his $1 Million Cowboys to come to your next birthday party, bar mitzvah, or wedding, or what have you.
Nice.
We'd be glad to travel.
That's awesome. Well, hey, listen, speaking of travel, if you ever have find your opportunity to come on up to Pennsylvania, let us know. We'd love to have you in the studios here and do a little impromptu. So the door for Penn's Peak Radio Studios are always open to all my artists. That would be totally awesome.
Oh, that'd be great. Thanks.
Okay, well, I think I don't want to keep you too much longer. I want to cut you loose here. But we're going to, when I say goodbye, we're going to play that song, I'm Not There, for you. And the listening audience, have them get the opportunity to listen to that. Again, we've got Out of Control coming up at the end of the show. You guys already heard Baby Steps. But this is a 5-song album. You guys can get your hands on it on the website. And, hey, Jake, if you ever got anything new and exciting going on, know that you can always get back in touch with us here on Wall to Wall Country, and love to hear what you got going on.
All right, I will. Thanks a lot.
All right, Jake, take it easy, buddy. You go back to doing what you're doing, and I'm going to head back to the pool, okay?
All right, have fun.
All right, thanks, Jake. Bye-bye.
Bye.